All right, let me just confirm that we are live on YouTube and Facebook. All right. All right, everyone, welcome to the next live stream for BGA Insurance. We're going to do some Medicare questions. If you guys have any questions you'd like to ask for Joe, put them in the comment box of either YouTube or Facebook, and we will bring them up on the screen and try to give you an answer. This week, for the most part, we're going to talk about Medicare Advantage, just run through some basics, get Joe's advice on enrollment, different things like prescriptions, things like that. Before we kick it off, Joe, I just wanted to ask you if there's anything newsworthy in Medicare this week. I know you wrote a blog post recently on acupuncture, so I don't know if you want to give us a quick update on that.
It's brief news, but I think it's big news. And good evening, everybody. And as you can see, we're still quarantined from the coronavirus, not in our offices yet. So we're at the luxury of our own homes doing this webcast. But so this past week, we found out that acupuncture is going to be covered by Medicare. Acupuncture is an alternative treatment for pain. It's basically managing pain management, done with needles, basically an Asian therapy that has been around for a long time. People have always asked me about it, along with chiropractic services, dental vision, those type of things. And for the longest time, Medicare never even recognized it. Now they will be covering it this coming year. There'll be certain appointments that will be covered and things like that. So more news will be coming out as the year goes on, or as we get closer to the annual enrollment period for January 1st. But that's good news because I've always said for years that people have always asked me about the shingles vaccination. And the shingles vaccination is not covered by Medicare. However, if you do get shingles, your treatment is covered. That never made too much sense to me.
Right.
But with the opening door of this acupuncture, I think a lot of things will come down the pipeline and start getting covered by Medicare, because they'll be realizing it's preventative. And if that could save the system a lot of money, if it's treated early or if it's caught before it happens, or things like that. So I think that's pretty big news. So I think a lot of good things are coming down, the pike in the future regarding alternative things like that.
Yeah. So is that something you have to wait for 2021, or is this something that's effective immediately?
Yeah, right now, it looks like it's 2021.
Okay.
More information will be coming out on it. It was just approved not too long ago. President Trump is very big on, trying to lower costs for seniors with Medicare, as you know, with the drugs, the prescription drugs. And we covered last week insulin medication. So he's putting a cap on that. So, this is something that he has pushed. So hopefully, like I said, more stuff is coming down the road to get covered by Medicare in the near future.
All right, great. All right, we're going to move on to Medicare Advantage. So, last week we covered the basics of Medicare. We did original Medicare. We talked, we kind of breezed through Medicare Advantage and Part D. But I think this week we're going to focus a little bit more deeper on Medicare Advantage. So why don't you give us kind of like an overview? What is Medicare Advantage? Why do people need to consider it? And then we'll go into some more specific questions.
Okay, well, when people go to retire, they have a couple of choices to take original Medicare or Medicare Advantage plan. As we talked about last week, original Medicare is having that red, white, and blue card as your major carrier, with a Medigap plan as a supplement, and also an independent drug plan. The Medicare Advantage route is basically where Medicare subsidizes that Medicare Advantage company, which is a private insurance carrier. And you've heard the term HMOs and PPOs, because most people out there who've had employer coverage are covered under those type of plans. Well, that's basically what Medicare Advantage plans are. So if you have copays, monthly premium, sometimes you don't have a monthly premium, sometimes it's a zero premium plan. And then you have co-payments for things that you do, like doctor visits, specialist visits, inpatient hospital, emergency room, ambulance. The thing about Medicare Advantage plans that are nice is that they do have some extra services as far as preventative dental and preventative vision, over-the-counter allowance. So if you're in a CVS, some of these plans are giving you $30 a quarter to buy anything over the counter with. So it's kind of an allowance type thing that they offer. So preventative services also. We can go really deep into this, but that's why you want to sit down with a Medicare specialist from BGA to kind of go over each plan, because each plans have all their different copays. They all cover the same benefits, but the copays are different. And whether you take an HMO or a PPO, PPO, you don't need referrals. HMO, you usually do. And the network is a little bit smaller with an HMO compared to a PPO. And all Medicare Advantage plans, most of them, okay, I shouldn't say all, have the drug plan implemented into the plan itself. So you don't need an independent drug plan. So that's the outline of a Medicare Advantage plan. We usually go deeper when we sit down with folks and show them exactly what's covered, what's not covered. But there's no right or wrong. People always say, well, what's better, Medicare Advantage or Medicare?
Right.
I don't really like to give that opinion. I could go over the benefits of original Medicare and the benefits of having an Advantage plan. But that I would leave that for the client to decide. But there is a place for both of these type of plans in the market today. They're both very popular.
All right. So if somebody has original Medicare, there's gap coverage like supplements. Is this a situation where if you have original Medicare, you have to also get Medicare Advantage, or does it completely replace it? So is there any combination that needs to happen when you consider a Medicare Advantage plan?
Okay. Well, when you elect into the Medicare system, you pay a basically pay a monthly premium to have Part B. Okay. And, you're going to have that whether you have original Medicare or a Medicare Advantage plan. You have to pay that premium. The average right now is $145 a month. It goes up a couple of dollars each year. Some people pay more depending on income. Okay. So, you technically still have Medicare. It's just that you're not using original Medicare. The private carrier is taking over for Medicare and is in control of your health care. So if you need an MRI or a CAT scan or something like that, that usually has to get approved. And that's what the doctor will do, is call the insurance company and fill out the form to get it approved when you're on a Medicare Advantage plan. So, there are rules and regulations to everything. There's a big difference that I always point out on original Medicare. With the Medigap plan, your Part B specialty drugs are covered. We're on a Medicare Advantage plan, they cover 80%. So that's just one instance of a difference right there. And
Right.
it's always good to sit down and go over your options every year during the annual enrollment period, because that's just one big option. There's plenty of other, that's one big difference, but there's plenty of other differences between original Medicare and a Medicare Advantage plan. But yes, you're still on Medicare. You're just insured by a private carrier through an HMO or a PPO.
Right. So it sounds like during the enrollment period, it might be a good idea to find out if Advantage is more appropriate than a supplement, right?
And it depends on, like I said, it depends on monthly income, what you could afford. Some people can't afford original Medicare with the supplement because technically you pay a higher premium for a Medicare supplement, but you have a lot less copays. Okay, if you go that route. You might have just a small yearly deductible of $198. When you elect a Medicare Advantage plan, you may have a zero premium plan, meaning that it does not cost you anything. And both Aetna and Blue Cross offer those type of plans where you don't pay anything a month, but you do have copays. You have a copay to the doctor, the specialist. You have a CAT scan, an MRI, emergency room, things of that nature. And if you decide to take a Medicare Advantage plan, we have to make sure all of your doctors are in the network, because then you have a network of doctors. Okay. And it's usually in the 5-county area, or if you're in Jersey, the counties that you live in, or we, specialize in South Carolina, North Carolina, Florida, and all those areas. We have to make sure your doctors are in that network. With original Medicare, you basically have an open network. So whatever doctor or specialist accepts Medicare, they accept your Medigap plan. That's a rule. That's just the rule. That's how that works. But with an HMO, we have to make sure your doctors do accept that particular plan.
All right, we have a audience question from Sarah Smith. She's asking, what is the annual enrollment period? So, Joe, I don't know if you want to explain the annual enrollment period and go into any other enrollment periods that happen throughout the year, or just you can go into the annual enrollment period if you want.
Yeah, I see a couple from Sarah Smith. I see the first one, do these plans have silver sneakers? Most of them do, but it's always, like I said, a good idea to go over which plans do and which don't. Silver sneakers is a very popular benefit with Medicare Advantage plans. And that what that usually means is that you could join a gym or a fitness center that participates in the Silver Sneakers program, and they will pay your membership based on the certain amount of visits that you go to. So they're very big on preventative health. Okay. The other one is there a donut hole? I see another question from Sarah Smith. Yeah, technically every Part D plan out there has donut hole. Okay, so in other words, if you reach a certain amount of money out of pocket for prescription drugs, you fall into what's called the coverage gap, the donut hole. Medicare Advantage plans, they're no different. When they're on their drug plans that are implemented in plans, you could technically fall in the donut hole depending on the amount of prescriptions that you do take. So, with an independent drug plan, it's the same way. It works the same way. They're all Part D prescription plans. It is just that the Part D prescription plan with the Medicare Advantage plan is built into the plan. So you technically could fall in the donut hole depending on how much out of pocket you spend and the amount of prescriptions that you take. If someone could take a lot of generic prescriptions and never fall in the donut hole because the prescription drugs, the costs for generics are very inexpensive, where brand names are a lot more expensive. I mean, I've seen brand name drugs for a 30-day supply, $500 retail cost, even up in the thousands, where, if you have a drug plan, even through a Medicare Advantage plan, you could pay a $35 to $40 copay. But then when you reach the coverage gap, you pay a lot more during that period. The annual enrollment period, which is another question by Sarah Smith. The annual enrollment period is once a year, October 15th through December 7th, where if you're on a Medicare Advantage plan, that is your time of year where you could shop around, whether you can go back to original Medicare with a Medigap plan, with a Part D drug plan, or you could search for another Medicare Advantage plan. I made a point earlier that there are plans out there at zero premium. A lot of these companies, a lot of these carriers like Blue Cross or Aetna, they come out with these plans once a year, and there's always a zero premium plan out there, which attracts a lot of people. And it might be that way for 2 or 3 years, and then it starts increasing on a monthly premium. So that zero premium could go up to $30 by the next year, or after that year it's 60, 70, and it gradually climbs. What we do with our clients is, some clients prefer a zero premium Medicare Advantage plan. So we're constantly shopping them around once a year or once every few years to make sure they have the most cost-effective plan. So annual enrollment is the time of year where, as a broker, we're sitting down with our clients or gaining new clients by showing them what's available to them as far as the Medicare Advantage market, whether it's Independence Blue Cross, AmeriHealth, Aetna, Cigna Health Spring, Humana. Those are just a few of the carriers that we carry, and they make a decision on what plan to go with a January 1st start date. And remember, it's from October 15th through December 7th. So after December 7th, you're stuck with the cutoff until January 1st. There's another period which is called Medicare disenrollment, where they can also get back onto original Medicare. People who have original Medicare with the drug plan, okay, they could shop their drug plans during that period also. Doesn't mean they're getting rid of their Medigap plan. They are just allowed to switch their prescription drug plans once a year during that enrollment period to another drug plan if that one gets too expensive. And I always recommend that my clients reach out to me during this period, because these drug plans change every year, just like the Medicare Advantage plans do. So it's always good to be kept up to date on the new products that are coming out or the changing costs of these drug plans, because this is the time of year where you could change your drug plan to have it more cost effective for the new year.
Okay. I just want to quickly go back to the donut hole for a second. For anybody that may have absolutely no idea what that means, what is the donut hole actually describing when you use that phrase?
Yeah, it's a coverage gap. So when you reach a certain cost out of pocket, okay, for prescription drugs, like $4,800 retail drug costs, you fall into what's called the coverage gap, and then you're basically paying about 50% of the cost of the prescriptions. Okay.
Okay.
Through the donut hole, and it changes every year. It's shrinking every year. So this was the year where supposedly it's really shrunk down. Where I think it's about 48% now of prescription drug costs on average, okay, depending on generics, brand names, and things like that. And then you would fall into what's called catastrophic coverage, where then Medicare would come back in and basically pay 95% of the drug cost.
Right. So we have a question from Mo. It says, the Medicare Advantage plan sounds pretty good. Can I add them to my supplement?
Now, you could either have one or the other. So it's either original Medicare with a Medicare supplement or having a Medicare Advantage plan. It is one or the other. So
okay.
Add it to your existing Medigap plan.
Okay. Sarah has another question. What happens if you go out of network?
Well, with Medicare Advantage plans, you have what's called emergency coverage. So if you go out and you have an emergency where per se you get hit by a car, or you have a heart attack and you're out of your network, they will cover you. They technically don't cover you if you're, let's say, out of your network and you feel like seeing a doctor because you have a cold. You can get coverage, but they will they will charge more in out-of-network cost depending on the plan, up to 20%. So that could happen with the PPO plan. Basically, you could leave your network and basically be out of the network and get covered as long as it's from a Medicare doctor or specialist.
Okay. Mo has another question. With the networks you mentioned, am I covered for an emergency if I go on vacation? That's a good question.
Yes, you are. Like I said, emergencies are covered worldwide. So whether you're in the States or out of the States, you'll have worldwide emergency coverage. So in case something does happen to you, you will be taken care of by the plan.
Okay. I actually had a question. So you mentioned very quickly when we were talking Medicare enrollment, you talked about a disenrollment period. So you said that comes in the spring or sort of like after the new year each year. Is that a yearly thing?
It's January through March. Basically, it's a yearly thing where people who are on Medicare Advantage plans want to switch back to original Medicare. It's from like to like. So if you have a Medicare Advantage plan with the drug plan, you would go back to original Medicare with the drug plan. Okay. But you can't be on original Medicare with the drug plan and go to a Medicare Advantage plan. It's just Medicare back to original Medicare during that period.
Okay, and then if you switch to back to original Medicare, are you locked in for the year, or can you then choose a supplement or switch at that point?
Well, yeah, you would choose a supplement at that point. Okay, if you wanted to, you have to.
At the same time, yeah.
It's not a law that you have to have a supplement with original Medicare, but you are exposed for 20% of the cost, whether it's hospitalization or any doctor visits or surgery. If you have open heart surgery, it's $100,000. Well, now you're paying 20% out of pocket. That's $1,000. So you want to pretty much add on a Medigap plan, but you don't have to. Okay. But then it's not that you're locked out. You could switch your Medicare supplement plan to another supplement plan during the year, but you can't get back on the Medicare Advantage plan until the following enrollment period.
Okay. Gotcha. All right. We have another question from Sarah. Is there a limit on the amount you would pay a year in copays?
Well, it's a good question. You have an out-of-pocket maximum on Medicare Advantage plans, $6,700. So between all your copays, if you were a person who was constantly chronic conditions and ill, going in and out of the hospital, copays at the doctor, once you reach a limit of $6,700, that's where the plan would take over and pay the rest of the cost for the rest of the year. But then your out-of-pocket maximum would start all over the next calendar year.
Right. Okay.
$700 each year. And I always say this to people who get on original Medicaid or basically retiring and they're 65 and they're deciding between original Medicare and an Advantage plan. If you have somebody who's already chronically ill and, constantly in and out of hospitals and sees a lot of doctors at age 65, it might behoove them to choose Medicare, original Medicare with the supplement plan, because the supplement plan may cost them $1,800 a year. Well, then that's your maximum that you're going to pay for any, as far as any out-of-pocket expenses. So instead of paying $6,700, you can pay a lot less throughout the year, depending, how sick you think you're going to get.
Gotcha.
And then perfectly healthy people who want to gamble and say, listen, I'm never going to get sick. I don't feel sick, and I will choose the Medicare Advantage plan because I don't think I'll reach $6,700.
Right.
Yeah. So it all depends on health and how healthy you think you are. But, I've sat down with people who are very unhealthy at age 65 or are very healthy. So, but that's a decision that's got to be made at that point.
All right. So here's another one from Mo. Do any of the plans allow him to see a podiatrist?
Yes, there are plans out, as far as Medicare Advantage plans that cover podiatry. On most plans, I think it's without looking at them, it's like a $45 or $50 copay, just like a chiropractor service. So they allow for a visit to a podiatrist.
Okay. All right. Looks like that's all the audience questions we have for now. Is there anything else you wanted to cover on Medicare Advantage, especially what about prescription drugs? How do they factor in to Medicare Advantage?
Well, they have different tiers. Most plans have 4 tiers. Some plans have 3 tiers. Usually your preferred generic, your regular generics, your brand names, and then the 4th tier is specialty drugs or non-preferreds and then specialty. Some plans have a deductible. This past year, the outline that Medicare put out was the maximum deductible that was allowed was $435. So any drug plan, independent drug plan, or any Medicare Advantage plan that had a drug plan could not extend it beyond $435 deductible, annual deductible. So at that point, you would pay, if you had a $435 deductible, and in January, let's say you took 5 prescriptions and ordered them all at once, in that month, you would pay out of pocket until you reached $435 out of pocket, then you would fall into your copay phase, where usually on average, your brand name drugs are $30, $35, sometimes $40. Your generics are usually $0 to $5. A lot of generics is $0. So you wouldn't even pay a copay for a lot of these preferred generics. And then your non-preferred generics are usually around $5 to $10 on average.
Right. Okay. All right. I have a question for you, and this might be the most important question, but how would you rate your skill as a drummer?
That's a good question. We'd have to jam out one day, bring your guitar over.
I see a nice looking drum kit back there, Joe.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
I hope it's not for show. I hope it's not a character piece you bought.
I get
right
on it all the time. It's a hobby of mine, learning how to play. I develop my own beats and things like that. Playing to some fast music is a little challenging at times, but no, I enjoy it. It's work, golf, drumming, work, golf, drumming, work, golf. In the family. So.
Well, I'll tell you what, in the age of live streaming, which what we're doing now, I mean, you can find free drum lessons all over the place online. I mean, it's, we're giving out information here. Drummers are giving out information. So like you can learn how to jam out if you want to.
I think there's a guy I follow on YouTube, Alec Falk. He's a pretty good drummer, and he explains things very well. There's a lot of guys on there giving drum lessons, and some of them you just can't follow. And then there's a couple that are, just break it down for you. Yeah,
you got to get that double bass, double kick going. Heavy metal style.
Well, I'm so good that I could do a double bass with a single bass.
Oh yeah, is that right? Sarah says her daughter is a good drummer.
Okay.
What's her best song, Sarah? Drop it in the comment. Drop a comment. All right, here's another actual question. Does Medicare Advantage cover physical therapy? Because I guess Sarah was able to get it in home last time.
Yeah.
Do you understand that question?
As long as your doctor prescribes it, and gets it approved, you pay a copay for it, just like anything else. It's usually on average a $45 copay, but that varies from plan to plan. Okay, and that's where you would sit down with your broker and and find out what the copays are for each plan and what fits your needs. How to get in touch with us for a private consultation? Obviously, we're BGA Insurance Group. We have a toll-free number. We have BGA agents, and I think, can you flash that number on the bottom of the screen at all? Right?
So actually, we have a form set up that has the number and a form. If you want to go to bgainsurance.net/Medicare quote. So at any time you can just visit that page. The phone number is there, and then you can also just give us some information ahead of time. You can give Joe, your current plan or just your age and a couple details if you're looking to switch plans. Even though it is not the Medicare annual enrollment period, you can still certainly send over your info now and then, make any preparations with the guys. Joe can certainly help you out with that. We also have a blog where we post news. So you can go to bgainsurance.net/blog. And we try to, Joe writes on, various things that happen in the news, like things the Trump administration has done recently. Last week we covered some news. This week we covered acupuncture. So each time we do a live stream, we're going to try to cover some, news that's happening, and it might apply to you. So it's a good reason to kind of tune in. Well, with that said, I don't think we have any more comments. I'll see if there's anything left here. It looks like we don't.
Want to start the enrollment period, the annual enrollment period. We're in July right now. Things are slow. Everyone's on vacation. Well, I don't know if anyone's going anywhere during this time. But come September, things start to heat up a little bit. There's a lot of information that gets out there. The drug plans have to put out their costs, what the new costs are going to be for the new year. So look out for those letters, because I know Humana last year put out a letter to all their clients, and their premiums went from, I think, $22 to $59. A lot of people ignore those letters. It's not a good idea, because then once the enrollment period was over, there was a lot of angry customers out there calling us up saying, hey, you know what? I had this Humana drug plan that I signed up for years ago, and I didn't get word that it went up to $59. Well, you find out a lot of people throw those letters or just don't read all of their mail, but that's very important information that comes out in September. And again, you want to contact your BGA agent or contact me with your prescriptions, because that is the time, the first week of October, when all the new rates come out. That drug plan that I put you on in 2020 does not mean it's going to be the best drug plan for 2021. I may say, hey, Mrs. Jones, that plan I put you on in 2020, stay with it. It's still the most cost-effective plan based on all the prescriptions you're taking. You looked at all the costs. Or no, Mrs. Jones, we need to switch to plan B because this is the one that's going to save you the most money in 2021. And the great thing about the drug plans is that you could change them regardless of health. Okay, so it doesn't matter how sick you are, come the enrollment period, you are allowed to review those plans and basically change it for the new year. And that's what we do for you as BGA consultants, is sit down and we do the free review for you. We do hundreds and hundreds of these things a year, so we're used to it. And that takes up most of our time during the annual enrollment period is drug plans. I can't tell you how many nights I've been up, or we've been in the office on weekends getting those done. But we have it down to a science now. We know how it works, and we help a lot of clients every year save a lot of money. So that's very important because if we could save you a lot of money, you're seniors, you're trying to hold on to as much money as possible. And that's a very big deal because prescriptions, as some people know, I've seen people spend $5,000, $7,000 a year on prescriptions, and it's sad.
Yeah.
Save you money. It's very good to, and the best way to do it is just email me your prescriptions. Email me the exact name. So whether it's the generic name or the brand name, I need that name, the milligrams and the dosages, and that's pretty much what I need. And I keep a file of all my emails, and I get back to everybody one by one. So I have it stored. Nobody gets left behind. Okay, and you could actually do it up until December 7th. I'm going to help you out.
Yeah, so it sounds like everyone should get on it, first week of October, if that's when the information's available. Just get all your stuff ready and then hit you up early just to make sure you get everything in, and then, find out what the new prices might be.
Well, Sarah Smith, private message, Back in Black by AC/DC.
Yeah.
Everybody could play, every drummer could play Back in Black. It's about the easiest drum beat in the world. And the fills of it. So congratulations.
Well, go ahead, Joe. Let's hear it.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll use Back in Black as the introduction to intro music to the stream here. So
yeah. Well, last week when he was on, you saw a guitar in the background. I didn't see you grilling him as far as if he could play or not.
Well, we know he can't play, so that's why I didn't ask. He just does it for show. So actually, on the next stream, we'll ask Greg, if he can play that guitar, if he's there. Of course, he's going to watch this, and now he's going to hide it.
Yeah, I know.
But I'm sure he can play Iron Man or something super easy.
No, I don't think so. Maybe Deep Purple, Smoke in the Water. The one riff I think.
Yeah. Well, there you go. Yeah, it might be even easier.
Yeah.
So. All right. That about wraps it up. We're going about half an hour here. So if anybody has any questions, like we said earlier, you can visit us on the web, bgainsurance.net, Medicare quote. You can also message the Facebook page. We'll try to respond there if you need to find us. But we are going to be doing live streams, once every 2 weeks or so. But during the enrollment period, we might actually be doing it more frequently, maybe every week if there's important news you guys need to hear about. So with that said, is there any final words before we log off, Joe?
Just be safe and stay healthy.
All right. Sound advice. All right, everyone. See you next time.